Hey, thanks for checking out this video on China and how the Pocket Testimony League works in China. Let me just kind of set the scene for you about what we're seeing on the ground. In some other countries, we're seeing open violence and persecution. In China, it's much more systematic government pressure, kind of turning the thumb screws more and more and more. Every month, every 6 months, every year, new laws, new restrictions, and we can just see Christians kind of being painted into a corner like there's this chess match going on. But the Christians are undaunted. We first went to China in 1909, and we got thrown out with everybody else in the 1940s. We re-entered China in 2009, so we've been there for about 15 years. So what is it that we do there? How do we work? Well, just think of the Bible and the prophet Daniel, how God put a righteous man under an evil king. That's the model. And there are Daniels in China who have the authority to authorize printing a Gospel of John. They can't print a whole Bible, but they can print something this skinny, right? Doesn't look very intimidating, and they're allowed to print it. And then they mobilize their churches, they mobilize Christians, and they go out and they engage millions of people with it. I've literally been in China and seen this book in a tea shop, dog-eared. It had been read so many times by so many people. We've been doing that for the last 15 years. And dare say, tens of millions of Gospels of John have been printed. We believe many, many more people have actually had the opportunity to meet Jesus Christ by reading a Gospel of John. So that is how we work and what we've done so far. Let me just tell you the story. It was the first time I was in China. I was invited to actually speak at a church to preach a very short sermon because it was not necessarily the safest thing to be doing. And after that, we went out and we shared Gospels of John amid all the Chinese people. We're in a very rural part of China. People took the book. One lady came up and she kissed it, and she was crying. As we walked out of the building, I saw all these Chinese people kind of scattered around the building, and they were sitting there and they were reading the Gospel of John. One of the most fascinating things I observe is when we give a Gospel of John to a Chinese person, they begin reading it immediately. And we have stories of people giving their faith to Jesus Christ, and then they take the same gospel and they want to go talk to their family. Highly a culture that's just a very tight-knit families, and once they know the truth, they want everybody to know the truth. So that's fascinating. We're continuing to work in China, and we're not working at the millions level that we had been, because in about 2018 they passed a religious freedom law, which was anything but freedom. And you can see the screws getting turned and turned and turned. We used to wire money into China to be able to get these Gospels produced. We're not doing that anymore. Instead, by God's grace, Chinese Christians have learned the idea of stewardship. They're now donating for this work. Most of the Gospels printed in China are now funded by the Chinese people. We're strategically taking rifle shots of trying to reach 10,000 people in one area, 50,000 people in another, maybe 100,000 people if we can be bold. And so we're working with them to do that, and where we can provide the financial resources in a way that doesn't draw attention to them and get the government to come down on them. But that's what's happening in China. I'm so excited that you're checking out this video. I really ask that you pray for China and that you pray about joining us in this work of God. 1.3 billion people. Wouldn't it be amazing if China became a Christian nation? Thanks for checking this out.